when Gallup does these annual surveys and they ask you, I'll paraphrase, how happy are you at work? And it's a scale from 1 to 5. 2/3, so 67% of people report that they either hate it or they don't like it, right? And then the other ones are neutral. I like it. I love it. And again, I'm paraphrasing. But so it's all that to me, it's like, golly, it just, it's no place that winds up good. So if there's something I could do, and if putting on a summit at least helps, I don't know, change at least a part of the world to try to get us closer to that, then I'm going to do that. So.
Hey everybody, I'm Elizabeth Swan.
And I'm Tracy O'Rourke, and we're from the Just in Time Cafe. And welcome to our podcast. At the cafe, we wrestle with tough questions, talk to groundbreakers, discuss great books, and get insights from Lean Six Sigma leaders and practitioners who are making a difference in the world.
That's right. We let you in on helpful apps, we bring you the news, and we challenge the status quo so you can build your problem-solving muscles.
So Elizabeth, what is on the cafe menu today? I'm hungry.
I hear you, Tracy. I am hungry too. So let me just tell you what's coming. So today's highlight is our interview with Paul Critchley, the president of New England Lean Consulting, where we find out what is in store at the first ever New England Lean Summit this September. There are rumors of a DJ. For hot apps, that's particularly good for you. Then for hot apps, we sampled a platform that could inject a stealth bit of productivity into your family's day-to-day activities. And then for Q&A, we ask, is there an optimal intersection of fun and productivity? Is there ever enough fun? Can you have too much of it? We'll settle that question. And Tracy, we will have a good time doing it. So fill your mug with your August quaff of choice, sit back and tune in.
Up next is hot apps.
Yes, today's app is Family Wall. It's like project management for friends and family. Efficiency and effectiveness are not limited to work life. Families are basically long-term task teams, right? They've got varying changes in membership. People progress. And they can be high performance units or dysfunctional. So it's not unlike what we see in a workplace. And a lot of families were challenged to find new ways to function during COVID. And one thing people got much better at was meal planning, right? We started managing our freezers. And since we had to keep our shopping time limited, you couldn't eat out. We were challenged to invent better ways to keep our families fed. So this app lets you create shopping lists, send each other messages, put events on the family calendar, add recipes to the recipe box, and upload photos to a family gallery, right? So depending on, the circle, you can include aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents or close friends. And lots of features come included in the free version, but there were a few we could not access. Am I right, Tracy?
Yes. So I signed up after getting a nice email from you inviting me to the Just in Time Cafe family. And I added a picture. I don't know if you saw that. Loved it. I tried accessing a few features and it invited me to get premium. Budget, documents, meal planner, and timetable are all features of the premium version. And the base version is completely free. And the premium version costs $4.99 a month or $44.99 a year. So I actually had a student from UCSD Health when she was in my Greenbelt class praise this app and how it's made her crazy, busy family life so much easier. She said there were times that both parents would hit the grocery store on the way home and duplicate purchases all the time, and they'd have double dinner. And so because you can update the app and then it'll update it so that people are seeing it, they go, oh, she already picked it up, so I don't have to pick it up. So she really liked it, and the app has really helped them to know if something was purchased already, which is great. And yeah, I think it's anything families need, which is kind of amazing. And I'm really bummed that I don't have it, or that I didn't have it when I really needed it. It's kind of a new app. What do you think, Elizabeth?
Yeah, because you definitely had a family, or you have a family, but when they were younger, you could have used it even more. You got two hungry boys. And a lot of action there in the family. But first off, yes, I got the photo. I saw it updated, and it was reminding me, like, it is our family, right? It had that photo of you, me, Mark Graven and Jamie Flinchbaugh, right? When we did our 100th episode celebration with Lean Whiskey. And it just made me, it just reminded me, it was like, yeah, this is our Just-in-Time Cafe family. So aside from that really fun bit, Tracy, I found it super easy to navigate. I installed it on my phone too. I think that's what you're saying, or it reminds me of what you might be talking about, where people just get it on their phone, right? There's an update going, yeah, so-and-so's already done the shopping, so-and-so's already got the dinner. And I like the graphics. I felt like it's an excellent use of space. Like sometimes apps can crowd you with icons and, whatever the visuals are, but it gave me white space. It gave me like a sense of like, it's simple. It's well laid out. It's intuitive. And I'm imagining, that with families with both spouses work, kids are old enough to help. It's a great communication tool, and it might lead kids, you would know better than me, to take action, take more active roles in household chores or dinners or shopping. And you would have liked that, Tracy, right?
I would have loved it. And, the budgeting and everything, it does, for those of you that have Facebook, it has clean lines like Facebook, and Facebook is obviously like a social media thing where you're posting pictures and making it fun, but there's so many other things in here, all in one app. I mean, that's what I really like about it is it's really sort of really thinking from a holistic perspective. What do families need? You don't have to have different apps over here and over there, and everybody has to log into them. They're trying to really centralize it and make it fun, so that kids want to participate in maybe posting pictures and those kinds of things as well. So I really do. I'm a half empty nester now. I got one kid leaving at the end of this month for college. And I actually was like, I really wish I would have had this app sooner when I had a young family, less time, and crazy schedules to manage, right? Would have been, I would have really embraced it. Now I'm just kind of like annoyed that I didn't have it.
Bummer. Well, Family Wild, check it out. I'm Elizabeth Swan, and you're listening to the Just-in-Time Cafe podcast. In a short while, you'll get to hear our interview with the president of New England Lean Consulting and the chief architect of the first ever New England Lean, I can't say it, New England Lean Summit, Paul Critchley.
Up next, it's Q&A.
Today's question is there an optimal intersection between fun and productivity? This question feels super relevant given the debut of your second Lean spoof rap video, Miss Fix-A-Lot. Just came out with 5S Baby. And there's no doubt that video is beyond fun. It's phenomenal. And if any of you haven't seen it, shame on you. How did we not get to you? If you haven't seen it yet, we'll leave a link in the show notes. But I have two thoughts on this aspect of productivity and fun. And for one, like in your case, if you're being tasked to do a 5S, right? What an insane kickoff event, right? Watching this video would make me want to dive right in. And my second thought is if you have zero idea of 5S or even lean, this video would make you want to know, right? So Miss Fix-A-Lot could be luring first timers into continuous improvement. So what about you, Tracy? How do you see this video intersecting with fun and productivity?
Well, it's funny you say that. And while you were talking about, is there an intersection, I started to go kind of nerdy, and I started to think about a correlation analysis where, you have ratings for fun on a scale of 1 to 10 and rating for productivity on a scale of 1 to 10. I wonder if there's a positive correlation. Does X increase as Y increases? And I actually started thinking about all that just now, psycho. But it might be curvilinear too. They might move together, positive correlation, but then as you have too much fun, productivity drops off. I don't know. I think that'd be an interesting question to ask. Is it positive correlation, or do you think it's curvilinear? But that didn't answer your original question, which is, do we see this video intersecting with fun and productivity? Absolutely. Fun and productivity go hand in hand. Most people like to enjoy learning rather than slogging through it, right? I mean, isn't it a lot more? Don't you learn more when it's entertaining? That could be in the form of story. I mean, fun is fun for fun's sake, and that sounds fun, but I like the balance of productivity and fun and having fun and getting some result out of it. Like, that to me is the sweet spot. So of course I'm going to say that. But That's the whole purpose around the video. It's fun, but it's educational, and ideally people are gonna be more productive and get the idea of 5S behind it, and then maybe they'll be interested to learn more, which is why I have a 5S virtual course
Yes.
too now.
Yes, I forgot to mention that it's clearly about productivity, because you're saying, hey, check out how fun 5S could be, and then, hey, here's a video, here's a instructional video on how to make it happen. So yeah, you've definitely pulled those things together. So continuous improvement gets like a dry rap, and I'm using a very different definition of rap here, Tracy, just for you. So just the phrase continuous improvement takes work, right? Those two words take up 7 syllables all by themselves. That's why everyone goes, oh, CI, CI. But of course, people that don't know what's going on continue not to know what's going on. So no wonder people came up with the word lean, right? I was asked to describe what I do the other day, and I started at a high level, and I started to see like eyelids starting to droop, friendly, trying to listen to me, but I could see, I was like, okay, this is not going to work. And I know better than this, right? It just hasn't been in a while since someone asked me, but I was, okay, I got to switch gears here. So I started describing like a sample improvement, at the hospital at UCSD Health that I've experienced recently, because they do such like just fascinating improvement efforts. But anyway, so once you can envision it, it gets interesting. So something like this video is a big, bold visual, right? And, back to that larger question, is there an optimal intersection of fun and productivity, or is there a curvilinear relationship, which I kind of see? It's like adding salt to your food. Like at a certain point, you're like, yeah, that's too much salt. So in my own experience, I will say that when I truly bring my sense of humor to a class, which, I probably over the years, I've kept myself in check to a certain degree. People don't know how much I keep myself in check, but when I bring it, I see people get bolder. And my sense is that by making light and laughing while I'm teaching the students, feel more comfortable asking questions. They seem to see the concepts and tools of lean as more accessible. They're less afraid, they're more confident. If you can laugh about the work, it's less arduous, like you described. I know we're aligned on this, but I don't know, Tracy, what would you say?
Yes. Well, I think what's also interesting is, we talk about developing culture in organizations, and, how do we create ideal conditions in a culture? And one of the things we really need to address in a culture is fear. There's fear in all organizations, and you may not create that fear as a leader, but they might be afraid of something. Maybe they're not afraid of you, but they might be afraid of your boss's boss. And so there's always fear at work, and it's up to leaders to try to break that fear down and to make it, dissolve. And what better way to do that than to have laughter? Because it's very hard for fear and laughter to coexist. So naturally, people feel more comfortable and they have a degree of safety with being vulnerable when there's laughter, because it's the dynamic that brings. And that's the kind of environment we want more of with process improvement. We want people to thrive, and we want people to feel like they can solve problems, and we don't want people to be afraid. And it's very difficult for the two to coexist.
I love that. I just love that. I feel like that needs to be like on a bumper sticker. It's impossible for fear and laughter to coexist. So that to me just speaks volumes right by itself, that you're always combating fear, and what a simple way to do that. So even if you do not have the lyrical chops of Miss Fix-a-Lot or the wherewithal to make a rap video, you can bring more fun into your work, more specifically your continuous improvement efforts. Fun and laughter are attractive. Getting more work done is much easier when people are enjoying and getting into it.
Agreed. I'm Tracy O'Rourke, and you're listening to the Just in Time Cafe. We host these monthly, so you can go to www.jitcafe.com and go to our podcast page.
Coming up next, it's our featured guest, Paul Critchley. Tracy, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Paul?
I'd love to. It was such a pleasure having him. And Paul Critchley, he's the president of New England Lean Consulting and is a recognized thought leader on employee engagement and continuous improvement programs and efforts. Paul is an author, podcaster, speaker, a Mainer. Oh, wait, is he a Mainer?
He's a Mainer.
And he loves teaching people about the power of lean. He's also been on Shark Tank. How cool is that? So he's got that going for him, which is really cool as well. Paul holds a BS in mechanical engineering, an MS degree in management, and an MS in organizational leadership. And we are so honored to have him at the cafe. And oh, by the way, all three of us have some roots in New England. So that's really cool too.
We do. We do.
Welcome to the cafe, Paul.
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I always love hanging out with you. You guys have such great energy.
It's all the cafe energy. It's what we it was here. We walked into it.
There you
It's
go.
the caffeine,
Nice.
the lean caffeine.
It is the lean caffeine. It is the lean caffeine.
Trademark just in time cafe.
Thank you. Thank you. Just looking out for the legality of the whole thing. Tiens. So Paul, I get to see you soon.
Yes. Thank you again, Elizabeth, for joining us. I was stoked when you said yes. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
I was stoked when you responded yes. So Paul, we found out recently from a certain Mark Graben on LinkedIn Live that you're originally from Maine. And
I am a Mainer.
You are a Mainer.
Whoop, whoop.
And I just want to know, Paul, do you return there often enough to be able to keep that label?
Yes, for the sole purpose of making sure that I don't lose my Mainer card.
Okay.
Because if anybody knows me, it's one of my defining characteristics. It's like my whole personality, and I drive my kids insane because like I'll hit them with fun. I'm like, hey, no, Maine is the only single syllable state. All the other states are more than that. I'm like, and Maine is the only state that borders only one other state in the whole thing. Right. And all this stuff. I'm like, or we'll watch a movie. We'll watch like Pitch Perfect, and right. Anna Kendrick is in it. I'm like, she's from Maine, right? or McDreamy, he's from Maine. Right. So, and they're like, will you please shut up? Like, yeah. So anyways.
You're embarrassing us, Dad.
Yeah, it's one of my jobs. So I do
well,
my best.
The thing I remember, I mean, there's all the Maine accent, all that stuff. And I just remember my stepfather telling a story about asking some guy in Maine for directions, just rolling down the window. And the guy looks up and goes, hard telling, not knowing. And that became like a family expression.
It is a vibe. There's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I thought what you were going to say was you can't get there from here.
Oh, that's also a beaut. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have a few in the back pocket we like to use.
Yeah. And they're not very lean as far as like credos go, but hey, I love them. They are. And also just realized just before we got on that Tracy reminded us she's actually born in Lowell, Mass, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So another New Englander. Mm-hmm. And I was actually born in England, the original New England.
Mm-hmm.
So old England, not
old
New England.
Not New England. And yet I came to New England. So
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, a whole bunch of us did, if you go far back enough, right?
Yes, it is a very
true.
special place. I miss it. I've gone back. I haven't been back in a while. Most of the time I go back when I visit Elizabeth because, she's such a wonderful host. And I'm sure I'll be back there soon at some point. So
play your cards right, Tracy.
Lean was a strategic name because it obviously includes Maine, and you've got a number of ventures with that descriptor. So tell us about the New England Lean Collaborative. Also could be Northeast Lean Collaborative, right?
Yes, in theory, yes. It's Well, I chose New England because I am a New England guy. And that was kind of the goal with, the whole thing, because, as you both well know, when you get into consulting, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Right. And we have mutual friends who fly a lot to go to clients and do client work and all that stuff. And that's awesome. Was not the method I was going for. I'm like, I like New England. And I, again, grew up in Maine, live in Connecticut. And I'm like, I think there's enough business here. So I kind of wanted to stay regional, really for the sole purpose, because when I started New England Consulting, My daughters were still pretty young. So one of the purposes of me going out on my own and doing my own thing was so I could be home more, not less. So I'm like, I really don't want to hop on a plane Sunday night, work all week, and then fly home Friday afternoon, mow the yard on Saturday, do laundry on Sunday, and hop back on a plane. It wasn't for me. So that's kind of how I came up with that. And then since then, we launched the New England Lean Collaborative last year, and it's a member organization. It's separate from the consulting side of the business. And really my goal with that was really just to try to help continue to build the lean community in New England by just pulling together member organizations. So we hang out, we do book clubs. Elizabeth, spoiler, I think we're probably going to do your latest one next. So because we'd started with Mark Rabin's Mistakes That Make Us. And he's probably going to yell at me because I probably got the title wrong, because I always do. And then we just did Clarity First from our friend Karen Martin.
Awesome. Two awesome books.
Yeah. So we do that. And then we do, we've done a tour of a member site because, again, consulting's great, and I get to go in and I get to tell stories and a little bit of what happens at other clients, NDAs, of course, withstanding. But with the collaborative, one of the goals was to be able, because it's always nice to go into a place and actually see what they do. You can hear it and see it and smell it, and you can talk to the folks who actually did it versus hearing it through my filter and all that kind of fun stuff. So that was kind of the idea with that, and it's going pretty well. People seem to be enjoying it. So
yeah. No, why am I not a member? Paul, what happened today?
I
must have missed.
I didn't.
The invitation must have just got lost in the mail. I'm gonna go look for it.
Well, I didn't hit you with the hardcore sales pitch,
Okay, so let's get to what's happening in a little over a month, because it's very exciting. The first ever New England Lean Summit.
Yeah.
So Paul, you're appealing in the way you walk a slightly different path, which I totally enjoy and identify with it. So can you just describe for us what's gonna make, right? First time ever. What's gonna make this conference stand out? How is it different?
Yeah. So thank you for acknowledging that. I'm a little askew, I guess. And again, not for everybody, but one of my things, I'm a big fan of the respect for people side. I spend a lot of time talking about it, coaching it, because I'm a believer, and I've seen, I know how I feel when I have a job that I love going to, because I've had jobs also that I hated I quit a job after 45 weeks of working there. So I didn't even make it a whole year because I just didn't like it, So I spend a lot of time with that. And with the summit, I want to kind of bring that thread to it. So for instance, one of the things we're going to do is we're having a DJ, right? I've never been to a lean conference before that had a DJ. And that's not to say it's going to be a house party. But right, it's just going to be, again, it's one of these things where it's kind of just a fun thing, right? We're going to do what I'm calling Lean Happy Hour, which Lean Happy Hour was a whole thing I sort of did during COVID, where I threw it out on LinkedIn and said, hey, if you're around at 5:00 on Fridays, let's just hang out. And I met a boatload of folks that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. And I will say, and we just kept it going. So we'd meet every week. It's still happening today. Like I kind of stepped down once, COVID was like, I won't say it's over, but right. So we all sort of got back to work. I got too busy. I'm like, I can't run this anymore. But folks that came to Lean Happy Hour are continuing to keep going. So they still meet every Friday at 5:00. So a bunch of those folks are coming to the summit, and on Thursday night, so it's a 2-day event. It's September 12th and 13th. So it's Thursday, Friday. Thursday night, we're going to have an in-person Lean Happy Hour at the venue. So have a couple drinks and just hang out and just network and have fun. So that's kind of the vibe I'm going for. Is I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff, but it's not going to be dry. I'm hoping that nobody walks away and thinks, geez, that was kind of dry, where I'm sure we've all been to conferences that it's workshop, 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 lunch, workshop, 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 which is fine. And that's part of what we're doing. But for instance, I've also built in some time. We're going to have a vendor area that as of today is full. So we've got, and we don't have a boatload. It's not like we're not having this at Fenway, right? So there's not 1,000, right? It's not going to be 1,000 people or anything, but we've got vendors who are going to be there. And so you have time to actually go, because that's always been one of my pet peeves when you go to a conference. Yeah, you can choose to skip a session and miss out on learning something if you want to talk to a vendor, or you can try to eat your lunch really fast and then go hit them up. But guess what? A lot of times they're eating their lunch at the same. So it's like, there's just no good time. So we purposely built in some time that it's like low stress. So you don't have any place necessarily to be, that you can go and you can visit vendors also. And I haven't hit it, the speakers up yet, so I'll just throw it out there now. We're going to do something else like a conversation pit kind of a thing. So like, hey, Elizabeth is coming and she's going to keynote, right? So is there any time, Elizabeth, if you're going to be around, that you want to hang out in like over in the lounge area for an hour and it's ad hoc. If people want to hang out and talk to you or they read your book and they had a question and like, this is their opportunity to see you, take a selfie with you. We're going to have a fun, a place to do that. Like I'm thinking balloon arch with like a backdrop, cause for instance, our girls have danced for 15, almost 20 years now. And every single dance competition we go to, they always have like an Instagram worthy opportunity to take pictures. And I'm like, you know what? Why not do that at a lean event? And because Elizabeth, you're going to be there. Deandra Wardell's going to be there. Adam Lawrence, Bob Rush, Kelly Mallory, a couple guys from TWI Institute, right? So these are opportunities to meet folks that we may not meet in real life. So why not make it cool and make it fun? So that's kind of
what? If you're going to have a photo booth, like a photo prop area, I think as a nod to Deandra that you should have a collection of tiaras that people could wear.
I probably should. I might do just that. I'll have a box of, or little masks and hat. I don't know.
No, think about it, Paul. It could be New England tiara, right? Like what makes it New England? Is there a clamshell in the middle of it?
Right. Or maybe that, or like a little plastic lobster or right.
Or both.
Both. Yeah, little right. There's a lot of things.
What? Maybe in the lounge you could have a craft operation for making the New England tiaras.
There you go. Now we're cooking with gas.
I'm gonna bring a prototype.
Okay.
Paul, as Tracy knows, I am a clam maniac. I am clamming all the time. My husband has to stop me. I'll bring home 300 clams. He's like, what am I going to do with all these clams? He just made like a massive thing of with all the clams I recently got so we could stuff them. Anyway, I have clamshells is what I'm trying to say. And you got me with the little lobster thing. So anyway, I'm working on this in my head. But I just want to come back to a couple of things you said, because you included so very much. I have to, because that's how my brain works. When you said, this conference won't be dry, and I'm like, not with the happy hour, like serving alcohol. It's definitely not going to be dry. I also already love the term conversation pit. And I'm already envisioning and sitting there, and it's, anyway, it's fun. Like I did, the last keynote I did book signings, which is fun. But I think the inclusion of, hey, come talk and selfies and, you know what I mean? Like that feels like fun, because I did a lot of talking, but you're kind of like, I'm at a table, I'm here, they're here. And it's the kind of this formality of, this almost contractual thing, but that is really inviting. So I like where you're headed with all this. Really, really fun.
Thank you. So putting on a conference has been something I've wanted to do for a while. But up here in New England, we already had a good handful of them. So my good friend, Bruce Hamilton, right? He's still president of GBMP, right? And they do a conference every year. I have nothing but love and respect for Bruce. I consider him a good friend. So I never wanted to kind of, get it, like step on his toes at all. Right. However, they're still around and they still do theirs. They move it around every year, which is awesome, right? Because that's probably a smart thing to do. But there's a couple other ones, Elizabeth, right, up in Portland, that they usually do in August every year.
Yeah, I was waiting.
Yeah, they're not doing it this year.
I know.
And so and because COVID kind of messed them up, they just got back in person last year, and right. So for a few different reasons, they're not going to do that this year. Also, UNH used to do them. And I have two very good friends that used to work there, and they were the folks, Dagmar and Tom, who've been on my podcast. They used to put that on, so they don't work there anymore. UNH had this is all public knowledge, so they had a big layoff of like 75 or so people, and Dagmar and Tom were a couple of people. And now, if you go to the UNH website and actually navigate on the homepage of the lean area, it just says the lean office is closed. Like that's it.
Aww.
So I know it's a bummer. So they're not going to do it. So anyways, I'm like, you know what? If this is it, then I guess it's time this is the year. Right. And so this is the year. So that's kind of why
I resurrect some conferences and be a Mainer and do it well. So I have a question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good folks coming to the conference. I mean, that's awesome, especially the first annual. So were you surprised about anyone who's like, yeah, I'll do a workshop or I'll speak? I mean, aside from the Elizabeth Swan.
That was a big get. That was a big get. Surprised? I guess I won't say surprised. I mean, I've been around for a little while, and I like to think I'm at least a halfway decent human being. So I know a lot of people. Humbled is a word I've used, and Mark Graben would yell at me because that's not the correct way to use it. Right. But honored, certainly. Because I reached out, I threw it out there and I said, hey, a bunch of folks, I'm kind of thinking about doing this. Would you come? If I did it, would you come? And I think I'm batting 1,000. Everybody's like, heck yeah, I'll come. And then even like Deandra's coming from kind of far away. Bob Rush is down in Tennessee, so he's going to come and he's speaking. And right. So that part was like, I anticipated that I was going to have to, be like, cajole a little bit, and then maybe have like a wedding, it's like you have the first round, and then if you get some no's, then you go to the second round and try to fill it in. And I honestly, I didn't have to do that because everyone's like, yeah, I actually had to turn some folks away that hit me up. So I made the announcement on LinkedIn, and I had a few people hit me up there and just say, hey, if you need us, we can do it. And I think we're all set, but maybe next year. I appreciate the enthusiasm. So yeah.
And I heard registrations are looking good, and you've got anyway, it just sounds really like it's happening.
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. It's summertime, so it's a little rough. Before I did this, we're partnered up with a couple of other organizations that also do conferences, not in lean, but in other stuff. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And they gave me some really good tips. And both of them independently told me the same thing, which was don't worry too awful much about if it doesn't take off right away, because we've been doing this for 10 years, 15 years or whatever, and every single year it's like a week or two before the conference and we're looking at each other thinking ruh-roh raggy, right? And it always like people will be like, oh, we're gonna go, so we're doing pretty well on registration. I mean, this thing is definitely happening, right? It's a done deal. There's no chance that I'm going to be like, sorry, registrations weren't good enough. No, we're doing this. So, registrations so far are pretty good. I'm looking forward to, seeing what happens in the weeks that run up to it. But it should be a good time.
No, and I've got a few things up. And we're going to have Bob Wallner, who's also going to be at the conference. He's going to be appearing at the cafe in a few weeks, talking about personal Hoshin planning. Mm-hmm. So I know that's also a teaser for what's to come at the conference.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm very psyched for this. Now, Paul, I just need to reflect a little bit in terms of preparation for the conference. So you mentioned the DJ, you've kind of dropped the word wedding. So I just need to know, should I be getting lessons from Tracy on like the electric slide or the bunny hop, something like that?
I don't think so. This is not going to be popular. I am anti-conga line. When my wife, I know, I'm sorry. We did YMCA. We did it. But my wife and I got married, we had very distinct, like, definite rules for the DJ. We're like, under no uncertain terms are we doing a conga line. And he's like, well, we'll see. And I'm like, no. My wife was like, no, this is not a wait. No, so help me God. If I hear like, he's like, all right, I got you.
Conga!
So yeah. So, but I will say this, electric side, she's all in. Like, if you hand jive, I'm your guy.
Ooh.
I did Greece. I was in Greece in high school. So I did the hand jive every day, pretty much all senior year as we were rehearsing. So now
cool.
I kill it at wedding receptions. So
Oh my gosh, you got to do that.
You got a
tutorial
issued.
So yeah, so I mean, if Tracy ran a conference, I think between all sessions we'd be a dance break.
Yeah.
Right. And so
you know what? That's not a bad idea.
Huh?
We may do that like lunchtime Friday. Maybe we'll have a little dance session.
Line dances are great for getting the blood going. You could do the Macarena, the electric slide, the cha-cha. I mean, you got a whole lineup. And you know what? Throw in a couple costumes. Why not?
Yep.
Ooh.
It's not a bad idea.
So what about games? Are you going to be should they expect games? Is there anything you want to throw out to our listeners as teasers?
Yeah. So, well, I don't games. Perhaps we've been kicking around a few ideas on what to do, like at say lunchtime on Friday. So more to come there. We're definitely going to do something. I don't know exactly what it is. I will say that on Thursday on workshop, and actually really both days, but definitely with the workshops, there are a lot of hands-on exercises, and it's to obviously, like, again, number one, so people can just, get the blood flowing and get to, meet each other. Cause again, we probably all been to conferences where it's like, listen to the speaker speak and yep. Right. And there's not a lot of interaction. Maybe there's a couple of questions or whatever. So when I had reached out to folks and kind of set the expectation about what I wanted it to be, I really challenge everyone to think about, how can you make it really interactive? So we've got some really cool stuff that speakers are coming with. So there's definitely that. So then, I definitely want to do something that's like fun at that, like during the lunch hour. I just don't know exactly. There's a couple of league leaders right now.
I'm going to back channel you. I got an idea, but I don't want to, force your hand or anything, but I'll reach out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hit me up. I'm all ears.
So just reflecting, taking the lens back a little bit. So you've described the area near you as Aerospace Alley, which I hadn't been aware of that term. And your background clearly in manufacturing. So is the summit manufacturing focused or broader?
No, it's definitely broader. Like so when you register, you put your email address in and you you put your company and all that stuff. So we've already got people coming from hospitals, medical offices. I want to say there's a couple of not-for-profits, like public not-for-profits, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Right. So certainly not like the workshops and sessions and everything that people are bringing are universally, they're agnostic as far as, background or tilt or focus or anything like that.
That's cool. That's great to hear, because my background is largely service, little bit of manufacturing. But anyway, I love it when it's mixed up. I love it when folks are from different areas.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I anticipate we're going to have a lot of folks who work at manufacturers because, yes, it is, I don't know, it's probably not on the map, but between Hartford, Connecticut and Springfield, Mass, it's known as Aerospace Alley, basically because it's Raytheon now, but there's Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford where I used to work, and then Hamilton Sundstrand and Windsor Lux where I also used to work, which used to be part of United Technologies. And then there's a lot of tier 1, 2 suppliers right up and down that corridor. So that's kind of like, right. And there's actually an organization, aerospace components manufacturers, that we're kind of partnered up with, not for the summit per se, but right. So we do a lot of work and events and stuff back and forth. So it's kind of a thing. It's kind of right. And they have a show in Hartford every year, and that's the Aerospace Alley show. So yeah.
So Yeah. Okay, good. Because I've had clients in the Connecticut area, and the thing I remember is both insurance and also wiffle ball. They make wiffle balls in
Yeah,
Connecticut.
insurance capital of the world, Hartford, Connecticut. So crazy times, you know.
So before we're almost out of time, unfortunately, but we want to have you back at the cafe at some point. But is there anything else you want to share with our audience? I know we're probably going to send something out when we share the podcast, but dates or anything else about the conference or about you?
Well, I mean, I'll be repetitive just as last time. So the New England Lean Summit will be September 12th and 13th. So again, coming right up. And like I said, I hope, my sincere hope for it is that people like it and they get something from it. And those are the really kind of the two things that I'm hopeful for. I will say, the price point is pretty low. When you compare this one to other conferences, I did that on purpose. I'm not doing it to make money. It's not my thing. I'm a believer, which is why I do what I do. I'm a believer in the power of, lean, continuous improvement, operational excellence, right? I don't get too wound up about what we call it. But I really want to help make it so when people go to work, they're having fun and enjoying their lives. Because, I reference Gallup polls a lot, and this has not changed in, I don't know, 20, 25 years. When Gallup does these annual surveys and they ask you, I'll paraphrase, how happy are you at work? And it's a scale from 1 to 5. 2/3, so 67% of people report that they either hate it or they don't like it. Right. And then the other ones are neutral. I like it. I love it. And again, I'm paraphrasing. But so it's all that to me, it's like, golly, it's no place that winds up good. So if there's something I could do, and if putting on a summit at least helps, I don't know, change at least a part of the world to try to get us closer to that, then I'm going to do that. So that's my sales pitch.
That's lovely, Paul. And it's funny, I'm quoting similar polls in my keynote, and I feel the same way as you do. And Tracy and I, one of our kind of sort of stakes in the ground is a rising tide lifts all boats, right? We're right there with you. We offer, the podcast, the free webinars, just because, we have we share the beliefs. So, Paul, what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they're interested?
Yeah. So we're all over social media. So LinkedIn, it's just Paul Critchley, or the business page is New England Lean. The website's newenglandlean.com. You can hit us up there. And my email is paul@newenglandlean.com. So go figure, right? So if you just Google New England Lean, you're going to find us. So
there's no escaping it, Paul. There's
I'm
no
everywhere.
Escaping you. So
savoir-faire is everywhere. There's a Gen X reference for you. Gold star if anybody can email me and tell me where that's from.
Ooh, gold star. Okay, you heard it, folks. Gold star for the taking.
I don't give those out lightly.
No, and I back Paul up on that. Well, what a joy. I can't wait to see you. And we're gonna, as Tracy said, we'll get you back at the cafe.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
See you, Paul.
Bye. Be sure to register for our August webinar, Personal Ocean Planning. Don't leave your future to luck, with Bob Wallner, the site lean leader at GKN Aerospace. Bob's going to share his system to help us find our true north. How many of us need that? All of us. The calendar year is approaching. What? No, it's not.
Well,
yes,
the fiscal. The
fiscal. Yes. And it's never too early to start planning. So it is approaching. It's a great time to plan what's next. We'll leave you the registration link.
I have the incredible honor of being the keynote for the first ever New England Lean Summit. So I want you to join me, Deandra Wardale, Paul Critchley, Bob Wallner, and a whole mess of other luminaries on September 11th and 12th. You'll have a great time.
And I would absolutely 100% be there myself, but I'll be keynoting at the Global Lean Summit the following week. So I can't go to 2 conferences in September. That's the week of September 15th in Indianapolis. And we'll have people in there like Jared Thatcher and Mark Graban and a few other people. So hopefully you can come to one or both of these conferences. So now you've got a Lean Wrap video, a webinar, and 2 conferences, and all the links are in the notes below. So stay tuned for all the news by joining our community at the Just in Time Cafe.
Thanks for joining me and Tracy. You are our favorite thing about the Just in Time Cafe, and we look forward to being your lifelong learning partners.
And we love being your jolt of lean caffeine every month.